Suck my butt. Suck my butt.
How would you children like to suck on my chocolate salty balls?
Oh, you mean like a chocolate candy?
No, I mean my balls.
Ladies and the gentlemen, that's right, welcome back. Fresh off the scene with the brand new shiny gleam, we're back for another edition of SMB, a South Park review. That's right, brand new setup, brand new way of recording for us, which makes recording this like 10 times easier in editing for me, which is going to make more content accessible for you. It has been 3-4 long weeks since we have delivered to you a full SMB review. We hope you enjoyed the last 3 weeks of Smashed Balls, where all three of these gentlemen that are on this podcast got to present to you some of their favorite moments right here on SMB, a South Park review. Normally, we do like to jump right into it, but I'm going to go ahead and we're going to kick up off the intros here because it's been a while. I'm your host of the Heat, and I can't be beat. I'm your guy who's high where the air is dry. Ya boy, MSG. Follow us as a podcast by going to Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Each and every week, I'm joined by one or two guys who will know their South Park like the inside of a woman's thighs, and they are ready to review it all for you. But first up on the scene, he might be joining us. He's not here yet, but I want to give a shout out to, of course, wow, it's been a while since I've made an air, to the guy who solicits those picks to get your clicks. The man who brings the pain in the digital marketing game, the man, Dane Becker. Maybe joining us now or later, but if he doesn't, shout out to him as he's currently in the process of not breaking his back with a realtor. But I digress. But making his long-awaited return to the podcast full-time, not just going to be here for half a show. He's here. He's ready. His voice is still kind of on the mend, so he can't fully exhibit the prowess that is his voice. But ladies and gentlemen, this man is a doctor of thugonomics, punkonomics, scooponomics, polyphonics. He is the 2022 South Park Red Rocks Day 1 Trivia Champion. And on this podcast, he is affectionately known as a trivia god. Welcome back, Joe Bernetta!
I'm just gonna lie to myself and say that all this fancy news stuff is because I'm back.
That's it. It's because you have returned. I felt motivated. I was like, I gotta clean this place up. Joe's back. Right. We gotta make this look tick-pop shake because we're using Ecamm Live now. I don't know why it took me so long just to go ahead and pay them because it's about the same price for Zoom. And it's got more features.
And I gotta say, my nights kind of motivated me into this.
Right. Also, Joe upstaged us. He appeared on another podcast before appearing on this podcast first. What's the name of the podcast? Where's my freaking remote? I was watching
the Sweet Spot with Rocco McSweet.
With Rocco McSweet. First of all, Rocco.
Hey.
Okay? I heard you were trying to steal my tag team partner here. Okay? This is my tag team partner. If anybody's getting the goddamn gold with Joe Vernola, it's Matt Schaefer. And we're going to do it in a South Park wrestling ring. I don't care where. Name the time. Name the place, Rocco. You go find your heifer, and we'll Rocco monitor this life down. Because me and Joe, when we come to town, it's all about that South Park, baby. Joe?
You guys, stop fighting.
Guys, stop fighting over me, guys.
Nah, I tried to do this podcast about a month or so ago, and I just couldn't get through it.
It was a good podcast. It was really insight into the mind of Joe Vernola. I learned a lot of things about Joe Vernola, probably because, these are not things you just normally sit down and ask you for. Hey, man, can you go ahead and just tell me about your background? How'd you get into professional wrestling? Tell me about where you took a shit. How'd that feel? Those are things. I mean, the shit thing I might ask, but Okay, we're getting off.
Yeah, you've asked me how I'm shitting before.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm fairly certain.
this is SMB number 180. That's right, number 180, and we are back. I'm excited to review South Park with you, and this is SMB. This is South Park's 177th overall episode. Joe, are we allowed? You think to? I don't know. Are we allowed to say the name of this episode? I don't know.
Nope, I would dance around it as much as we can to not get demonetized on YouTube.
I know, right? But it is the name of the episode. So for those...
True.
There was a global crisis that it was dubbed some sort of a epidemic, but they placed pan flutes in front of it, and that is what this episode is titled. It happened, it revolves around giant gerbils and other things, but it's a worldwide event in which Peruvian flute players, man, this is going to be hard not to say the name of the episode, are taking over, Joe.
Right, it really is going to be hard to not say the name of the episode, especially because before like 3 years ago, you could say that word in an academic sense or a sense like we're using it now and nothing would happen. But now, because there's people that will throw the word around and use it to cause mass hysteria, we can't use it now, and that may very well tell you the name of this episode.
This is the Pandemic. It is the 12th episode of season... it is the 10th episode of season 12, the 177th overall episode of South Park, and it aired on October the 22nd, 2008. Now here's the synopsis. While the world struggles to contain an epidemic of epic proportions, the boys find a new way to make money off of it. Because, as the old saying goes, when in chaos, there is opportunity. And that is what the boys are trying to do. So fresh off the mall, after Kenny has purchased some razors and shaving cream to shave his balls, as girls like to shave balls, the boys, except Kenny and especially Stan, are irritated by the number of Peruvian pan flute bands in the area. They then discover that they are from London and that He then discovers they are in London from the TV and are called into dinner, where it is revealed by Sharon and Randy that they have been filming everyday things in the Marsh household ever since he purchased a camcorder, kind of doing a parody of some movies that were out at the time, which we'll get into later during the trivia. But Randy then comes down and starts videotaping Sharon, Stan, and Shelly are eating dinner, and then all of a sudden they see another Peruvian flute band outside, which Randy wants to film. So let's go ahead and here we'll jump into the first clip of Randy and of the boys leaving the mall.
Hey, Kenny, why did you buy razors and shaving cream?
Yeah, dude, shaving my balls.
Why did you shave your balls? Girls like shaved balls? What girl is gonna see your balls? Oh, Jesus, there's another one! Another pan flute band. Have you guys noticed there's bands like this everywhere you go lately? Yeah, I saw like 3 of those bands down in Denver yesterday. All their crappy music sounds the same. I'm so sick of hearing this music everywhere I go. I think Kenny likes it.
That's a meme, of course. That's where the meme is from, if you've used that GIF or meme online.
Yeah.
Kenny dancing. All right, let's go ahead and we'll jump back here in just a moment. As you can see, all the Peruvian flute bands here. We're going to skip ahead here. Here's what happened. Here's what's happening now at the Marsh residence.
Video camera. He thinks he has to film everything the family does. All right, here we are. Marsh family gathered for another dinner. Randy, we have plenty of video of us eating dinner. There's Shelly. You excited about dinner, Shelly? Turn it off, Dad! Oh, look, Stan's eating a tater tot. Wave to the camera, Stan.
Oh, look, Stan's eating a tater tot. And then, as we mentioned, Peruvian flute band. And now Randy is going to jump back over into
Jesus Christ!
filming the Peruvian flute band.
Nito, it's one of those Peruvian pan flute bands.
All right. We'll jump back into some more clips later on. But the next day, Stan reveals to Kyle and Kenny and Cartman that he saw a Peruvian flute band outside of his house. And in the hour that he was there, they made $200 and proposes that they start a Peruvian flute band. Of course, they're a little hesitant at first, but after Stan breaks down the cash flow, even Cartman has to agree, oh shit, we got to get on this, right? But now, of course, they have to think of startup costs. They need money for instruments and, of course, to produce, they need to buy some blank CDs and then print them on Stan's computer, So the boys turn to another individual in their classroom by the name of Craig Tucker. Now, Craig recently has just gotten $100 as a birthday present from his grandmother. So the boys go over there and they reluctantly convince him to be their backer and join their Peruvian flute band. Joe, have you ever joined a band because you were like, man, I want to make some money?
Never because, oh man, I want to make some money. It was like, I always kind of knew I was never gonna make money with music. It was more just for the
love of it. No, I get that. I mean, I played in a couple of bands, and we cut an EP, and I got to tour a little bit. So there were moments where I had illusions of grandeur, right? I'm gonna be rich, brother, playing music and stuff like that, dude. But it's a hard life, and you got to grind for 10 to 20 years, and I'd rather do that than acting. So that's what I'm doing now, ladies and the gentlemen. All right, so let's jump in here to another scene with the Craig Tucker, and we'll find out what happens when the boys are convinced by Stan to join this Peruvian flute band.
Job in the world, I mean, we could do that. Become a Peruvian flute band? Yeah, why not? We get some instruments and some costumes and then make some crappy pan flute music CDs on my computer. Oh my god. We are gonna make so much fucking money. Yeah. Woohoo! But where are we gonna get the money to buy costumes and instruments?
Craig. Immediately. Here's Craig's house.
Craig, dude, how you doing,
How's it
bro?
going? What's up, man? Remember my friend?
Right. Cool, awesome.
Awesome, sweet dude.
Craig, remember you were telling us how your grandma gave you $100 for your birthday? Yeah. Craig, how would you like to turn that $100 into $1,000?
In one afternoon.
Come on in, Craig. Have a seat. Welcome.
So they reluctantly convinced Craig, and I feel bad for Craig here in this scene because Craig agrees to it under the notion that if he doesn't, they're just not going to let up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He understands if Cartman is not only in on this plan, but you got Stan, Kyle, and Kenny backing this. I'm not going to win this fight here.
Of all the kids at this school, Craig is definitely the one that is most hip to the boys' shit. He is the one that fucking is I mean, he probably doesn't hate the boys, but he's very anti them, and like I said, sees a lot of their bullshit for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of got that tempered moral high ground, if you will, where he can kind of see both perspectives from all angles when it comes to problems and solutions. And as we'll find out in the later seasons, he is dealing with his own identity itself, right? His own sexual identity, which eventually he finds out the Japanese turn people gay. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really what it is, but that is in the lore of South Park. But that being said, Craig itself, we've seen him, slightly in the past, right? During the Tourette stuff. If I could say that to my teacher, I'd be so happy, right? But we also see here that Craig's just not stupid enough to try and fight Cartman, and especially the whole gang.
Right.
All right. Well, moving on here, after they convince Craig, they start up, they go out to the plaza, they start playing the music, but they do, and they actually start selling a couple CDs and, start making $20-30, and they're like, see, we're going to make your money back right away. And, you'd have to also think, granted, we'll make your money back in one day. You also have to think, hey, the first $100 is going to go to Craig, right? So that way we can pay off Craig, Craig can leave. So that, he would have made back all of his money in one afternoon. And, you have to think, hey, we're going to pay back Craig first, so that way he gets back his dividends. And then anything else we make on top of it is our money, and we can get Craig out too, right? But that's not what happens, Joe, as they start playing in the plaza, more Peruvian flute bands start showing up and there's competition. And it's unfortunate at the same time that Michael Chertoff, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, shows up and he has shown up to arrest and quarantine all the Peruvian flute bands for the reason that they are, kind of annoying. Actually, that's really what it is. It comes down to that. Everyone finds the Peruvian flute bands kind of annoying. Do you find Peruvian flute music annoying, Joe?
Not really. It's not necessarily my bag unless I'm like trying to fall asleep or something. And then it's not normally as upbeat as it is in this episode. It's not my bag, but I don't hate it or anything.
Okay, fair enough. I don't hate the Peruvian flute music. I don't know. It kind of sounds like elevator music to me. Music you hear on the elevator, hold music, kind of. But it's something I would normally just throw on and jam to. Now, maybe some Peruvian lo-fi. I don't know. That might be interesting to look up. We'll look that up here at some point. All right, well, let's jump back into the episode now. As we mentioned, the boys are going to be at the plaza facing some stiff competition. Let's show what happens when the boys arrive.
Gracias.
How cultural.
This is awesome. You see, Craig?
Of course, there, as we mentioned, the competition now showing up.
Hey, you guys can't play here. We were here first. No trabajar aquí. Vaya.
Cartman.
No playa la música en la promenade. No es bueno. This is our Peruvian flute band's turf. You got that?
This is our turf. You got that?
God damn it. No es bueno.
Cartman throws their stuff. And then, as we mentioned here,
Of course, about Peruvian.
the DHS, they have a plan to get rid of them. So here is they are showing up to attack and take out the Peruvian flute bands. Now, the boys, of course, they're like, wait a minute. We're white. We're not Peruvian, right?
We're American.
We're American. We're just kids at South Park.
You right, asshole.
Now, eventually, they thought the other guys were getting taken. Now, if I was these kids, I might have stopped playing music.
Right.
Homeland Security operation, people. Let's go.
Hey, back up.
Make sure all.
I might have been like, yo, you gotta bounce. Take off my hat or something. But yeah, they get arrested, and unfortunately, they are no longer going to be able to make the money that they need, so that way they can pay back Craig, Joe. Sad times. So here's what's going on in the crackdown. After being arrested, the attempts to inform the guards that there was a mistake fails due to the guard thinking that they are selling CDs, which he expresses by shooting a flute band member who attempted to sell a CD. They're like, dude, we're American. And they think, I don't want to buy any of playing flute music. So it kills him. And then later on, Craig starts to express his anger at the boys for wasting his birthday money. The boys and the real Peruvian flute band learn that they will be shipped to Guantanamo Bay the next day, which the boys are not happy to learn. Meanwhile, at home, Sharon and the Broflowskis, of course, are talking to Craig's parents, who are arguing that running away is not like Craig at all, as Randy is filming the conversation argument, angering Sharon further, possibly because Stan was missing at that time. So Randy, throughout this whole episode, is being super annoying with the camera, but then once we start getting into the epidemic that happens on this episode, you're like, oh, see? It's a good thing I was recording. At least in this episode itself. Yeah. So we'll jump back now into the episode itself, and we're gonna continue on with some of the clips here. Here's what happens now when the boys are trying to explain to the guards that they're not Peruvian.
Where you will spend the rest of your lives.
Donde pasar el resto de sus vidas. Gracias.
Guantanamo Bay? We can't go to Guantanamo Bay! Don't worry, you guys. I'm sure our parents are freaking out right now trying to find us.
Here's their parents.
Please, Mr. and Mrs. Tucker, our boys were last seen running out with your son Craig. Do you have any idea where they could have gone?
No, I'm telling you, this isn't like Craig at all. I'm really worried.
You've checked with the police?
Nobody knows anything. It's like the boys just vanished.
None of the other kids have seen them since...
Randy,
will you put that thing down? What is wrong with you? Our son is
so
missing.
good.
Hey, I'm worried about him too, Sharon.
Well, then stop being an idiot and help.
Maybe the boys all ran away. Were any of your boys upset about anything?
All we know is they.
This is some shit I might do with it, Dad. I might start pulling out a camera. Recording.
It's
gonna be a great movie later when we find him. Or it's
Right.
and we're gonna sell it for millions of
Craig is
dollars.
a bad influence on our boys.
No, wait just a minute.
I'm just saying that your son has some problems.
Like every kid doesn't have some problem.
They're blaming Craig for being the bad influence. That's hysterical.
Oh, this is cool.
Right.
Randy, oh, this is good.
Good.
He's all excited about the content he's getting. That's funny.
Yeah.
So as we heard there, the parents were pissed, and they blamed the Craig Tucker boy. So here's what happens now. It is revealed that all the Peruvian flute bands are in quarantine are about to be shipped to Guantanamo Bay. They search for the country Peruvian, which angers Michael Chertoff so much that he points out on the map and calls them all artards, a full word. At the same time, Chertoff's aide, General Davis, and security have thwarted the boys' attempts to escape. Initially believing them to be out some sort of hybrid after an interrogationist session, they decide to send them to Peru to take down the country. At the same time, the musicians warn off a La Muerta Peluda, which translates as the furry death. Peluda? La Muerta Peluda? Did I pronounce that right, Joe?
I think so. La Muerta Pelu. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right, so let's jump back now into the clips here, and we'll show some of that stuff we were talking about here. Here's the boys being interrogated and trying to prove to the military officials there that they are not really Peruvian, they're American.
Playing at an outdoor mall in Colorado.
Look, we're from Colorado. We grew up in the United States. We speak English. And we what?
And what?
Let me talk to you guys out here.
Let me talk to you guys out here.
What do you think? I don't know what to make of it, sir. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Clearly they are a Peruvian flute band, and yet they aren't. They play pan flute music like the others, but they talk and act like one of us. I agree. They're obviously some kind of hybrid. A hybrid? How was that possible? Perhaps a Peruvian flute band mated with one of our people.
Mated with one of our people.
They're about the only piece of good luck we've had. Sir? If they are the hybrid we're talking
Mated with one of our people.
They could be our way of taking out Peru once and for all.
All right, let's jump forward now. Here's the boys.
You how?
You're able to walk amongst the Peruvian flute bands. They see you as one of them. We are going to send you to their capital.
Can we please just go home, sir?
Craig.
We still don't know whose side you're on. You do this and we'll know. You leave for Peru in the morning.
They're sending.
No, I'm not going to Peru. Not Peru. Kyle, calm down. You know I can't go there, Stan. One of our friends was raped in Peru.
Great callback to the Indiana Jones episode.
Oh, great callback. All right, so jumping forward now, here's what happens now. Here's what the news is breaking down as we mentioned the La Muerta Peluda.
Respect. Really welcome silence, Tom. There hasn't been a Peruvian pan flute band in sight for days now, and everyone is really enjoying the piece. The world can breathe a collective sigh of relief now as we thank the... What the? Oh my God! There's something else here. It's not a Peruvian flute band. It's like, oh my God, what is that thing? Paul, what are you seeing? It's Barry. It's Barry.
It's very furry.
It's very furry. So as you heard, their scene is reporting on the silence there, but just as they're on the scene, the reporter Paul Harris is involved and attacked by something unknown, which he identifies as Fury. Mere seconds after that, the pitcher goes dead, the CNN building is attacked, and the anchorman Tom is dragged somewhere unknown. Now, it's at this point here, we see the boys have boarded a C-130 bound for Peru. Craig, for his part, continues to chastise the boys for never learning from their mistakes.
Which is my favorite Craig moment in the entire series. Like, if we could play that, you know why nobody likes you? Because, I mean, if we can't, you don't have to, but...
No, definitely. Well, that was what's going to come up here. So here's the boys on the plane. They're getting ready to go to Peru, and as Joe's already alluded there, Craig is not happy about the fact that he's getting dragged along this and says, has some harsh words for them.
We're about 800 kilometers from Peru. There'll be a truck to take you inside the border where you'll be briefed on mission specifics.
Was there ever a moment when you guys first came up with the genius plan to become a Peruvian flute band that any of you said, hey, you know, this plan might backfire? No, that never occurred to you because you guys are jerks and you never learn from your mistakes. And that's why everyone at school thinks you guys are assholes.
That's not true. Kids at school like us, don't they? Yeah, dude, kids at school totally like us. Craig's just being a dick because we're having a tough time right now.
I'm being a dick.
Yes.
You guys took my birthday money, got me arrested, and sent to Miami with no way home except to take down the country of Peru, and I'm being a dick.
There's no talking to this guy. All right, fine, Craig. When we get back home, we'll get you your money back, and we'll never talk to you again. How's that?
That would be great.
That would be great. Thank you.
This is wrong.
That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So here's what happens. Kyle is suspicious that there's a more complex reasoning that the government has sent them to Peru. So he starts to question that, like, why are they sending us as kids to Peru? And then we go back to South Park. Sharon reprimands Randy for filming her, calling some unknown bounty hunter for help. But then they hear a low moan and Randy goes outside, filming destruction by what appears to be giant guinea pigs? Pigs?
Yep.
And then Randy is hit by something, leaving his survival uncertain. So let's jump back in here now to what happens when Randy first lays eyes on the guinea pigs.
What's going on? They're all over the place. What are? They're really furry.
They're really furry.
What did that?
What is
that thing?
It's not share.
Mr. Marsh, you have to move. It isn't safe to be.
I am so startled.
Oh my God! Go back the other way!
Randy now right back the other way.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! I'm so startled.
And then the recording goes dead there as Randy. We don't know what happens. So Davis...
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying right.
Yeah. So following that, now General Davis, who reports to Michael Chertoff, confesses that he has something to do with the incident. Chertoff reveals himself to be a monster and murders Davis. He begins to go into a monologue about the guinea pigs rising, the flute band's being on their way to death, and that the only person that could have stopped him is on the way to the middle of nowhere. He smiles with a victory at a photo of the person who threatened his plan, and it's a photo of Craig Tucker as the episode comes to an end.
So it's all Craig's fault this time.
Craig's fault this time. So let's go in here to some of the final scenes there as we wrap up this episode on another edition of SMB. I do want to show here Michael Chertoff eating this guy's eyes.
Davis, did you know that? Sir? I really thought you had me in Miami, but you just couldn't quite put the pieces together. You knew this was going to happen. Oh, this is only the beginning, Davis. And I can't let you interfere. Sorry, my friend, but I've worked too hard to make all this happen. The pan flute bands are on their way to their deaths. The guinea pigs are rising. And the only person who could have stopped all this is on his way to the middle of nowhere.
That's good. That's how the episode to a conclusion. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was your full recap there. We'll be right back on the other side after a quick word from our sponsors with some more trivia, pop culture, maybe some references to continuity and more. Who knows? We'll be right back.
Subscribe to Suck My Balls, a South Park review on Spotify, Apples, iTunes, anywhere you want to download a podcast, just type that in, subscribe to our feed, and you'll get the latest, greatest episode each and every week. You can also listen to us on YouTube and go back and watch some videos or any of our library. It's all there. Suck My Balls, South Park review.
Suck my balls. Suck my
And we're back now on the other side. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, provided by Spreaker. As well as if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. YouTube has apparently updated their monetization options. You no longer need 1,000 subscribers. You only need 500. And we're almost there. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can get monetized and we can just make a little bit more money to pay for all these new features that we have to pay for now with the new program. You can also check us out at Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod for all of our landing pages as well. Well, ladies and freaking gentlemen, it's time. It's been a number of months, or I guess it has been a number of months because you didn't read on the last one, so it has been now a number of months since this man has been here. This man is the 2022 Red Rocks Day 1 South Park Trivia God. Over Nola, take it away, wisdom.
The overall concept of Peruvian musicians against guinea pigs is based on the fact that guinea pigs are eaten by native Peruvians. When the parents are talking about their children being missing, Kenny's parents and Cartman's mom are missing. Since Kenny is apparently regularly buying shaving cream and razors based on the fact that girls like shaved balls, it is safe to assume that he is growing pubic hair at the age of 9. This is quite the rarity, and this would also mean, by Cartman's logic and Scott Tenorman must die, that Kenny has matured, which would really piss off Cartman. Tom Thompson is called Paul in this episode and is an on-ground reporter instead of a news anchor. And this is the only season 12 episode with no Butters.
Joe, is your voice still up to read some pop culture? Can you read the pop culture? Is your voice feeling good enough?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this. The camp in Miami that the Peruvian flute bands are sent to is similar to the refugee camp scene in the movie Scarface. That would be the 1983 Oliver Stone, Brian De Palma version, not the Howard Hughes one. Door opening and closing sounds from the video game Doom were used in the shopping promenade attack, albeit faintly. They have not been used since canceled. Various scenes in the episode where there is a live video feed are similar to scenes from the movie Cloverfield.
That's right, where you find the goddamn monster until like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and then it's like really not intimidating. Randy talks to the camera several times during the episode, including once where he says, "I'm so startled," which, as we pointed out earlier, is a reference to the final scenes in the BlairWitch project.
So scared right now.
The scene where the old flute band member warns of La Muerta Peluda is a reference to the movie Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, where an old man who witnessed the monster Batagon warns police of Godzilla in a similar fashion as the band member in this episode.
And that is your trivia and pop culture. Here's some continuity references for you from the show. When Michael Chertoff tells the boys they're being sent to Peru, Kyle has a panic attack. Stan explains that one of their friends was raped in Peru. He's, of course, referencing Indiana Jones being raped by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas in the China Problem episode. You can go back and check out that review. Craig remarks that the reason no one else likes hanging around them is that they always get in trouble and they wind up in a foreign country or in outer space or something. Well, the last time they were in a foreign country was only 6 episodes ago in Canada on strike. And although the last time any of the boys got close to outer space, or rather something, would probably qualify as Kenny in Best Friends Forever. And the last anyone they actually went to space itself was in season 7, canceled. So that is your references to pop culture, your continuity, your trivia, your full recap. Joe, what do you like about this episode?
The fact that they went outside of the usual suspects meaning one of the boys, Butters, or Randy Marsh as a as like a real kind of important character in this story. The fact that they brought in Craig gives a little bit of a breath of fresh air and adds a little depth to the Craig character, which is always kind of nice when they just like take a random character and add a little bit more to them, which they kind of, them and The Simpsons are really the only ones to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're saying from your standpoint of how you feel, because they did add more depth to Craig's character itself. However, I would contest that this is probably one of my bottom third of episodes when it comes to South Park. Both these, I don't find them over the top funny. Like, there's some good moments that have some comedy in it, but it doesn't, like, I'm not gonna go back and go out of my way to try and watch this episode. If I'm watching it in a row or I'm watching it season by season, yeah, I'm gonna watch it in order. But it's not an episode that I'm gonna go back. And it's also an episode that before the epidemic that hit the world, it was played a lot on South Park and on Comedy Central. So I think as well, because it's been played so much, you kind of get tired of seeing that episode. I mean, what do you think about it?
It's one of the safer episodes that Comedy Central can air. There's not a whole lot of swearing in it. There's nothing really crass or hugely controversial in it, so I can see why Comedy Central would play it a lot, and maybe that does lead to the burnout. I wouldn't say it's bottom third. It's definitely middle of the road for me, but I like the ridiculousness of the guinea pigs being the monsters and that somehow a Peruvian flute band was the one saving us all from certain doom at the hands of these guinea pigs.
All right, well,
we don't look like pigs.
Well, we got some disagreements here. This is in Joe's middle. This is in my bottom three. It's not an episode that I enjoy going back and watching. Do you feel like, based on the previous seasons and the success they had on multiple story arc episodes, that they kind of were forced to put one in season 12, and this kind of episode just came out of nowhere?
Well, I mean, any other time that they did any of the 2 or 3 episode series, like Go God Go, like Imagination Land, and a couple other ones, like, they always kind of come out of nowhere, and you don't realize until the very end that, oh shit, this is a cliffhanger episode, this is one of the series. So they normally come out of nowhere, at least to me. Maybe they felt obligated to do one because it was like almost a good 10 years or so that they did, or at least 5 or 6 years that they did some kind of like 2 or 3 episode arc before they started doing the serialization of the seasons.
Right, because you had to do the handicap go to hell, and then probably, which happened early on, and then we got Imagination Land, we had then we got Go God Go, then we got Imagination Land, then we got this, and then next season they'll start Mysterion, and then 14 you get all the 3 episodes Mysterion.
The Coon Trilogy. So, I mean, it seems to start this pattern kind of after season 10, season 11, where they kind of have these serialization episodes until we get to what was like season 19 or 20, when now we start full-on season arcs. Right.
So it's kind of like they were laying the groundwork here, it feels like, and to me, this one misses, in my opinion.
I mean, if we're comparing it to just the 2 to 3 episode arcs, then yeah, this is probably the weakest of the bunch. But I mean, when you're comparing them to the Atheist Starlight Alliance and eating entrails on their tummies, and Imagination Land, and both friggin' Mysterion series, Mysterion Rises and the Coon Trilogy, then yeah, this is the weakest of those types of episodes, those types of arcs, it's definitely weaker than the Black Friday trilogy.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for another edition of SMB, a South Park review. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this content, if you'd like to see more content as well. When it comes to mashups, as I mentioned on the Smash Balls episode, if you think we should do more episodes like that, or pick out some of our favorite moments from seasons past, let us know. Drop a comment. Go to Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Hit that like and subscribe button on all of our podcast platforms, all of our social media outlets. You'll be notified when more content drops. Of course, shout out to our boy, Dane Becker, the man who brings the pain in the digital marketing game. He solicits those picks to get your clicks, and he's also the writer, or a writer, director, and now an on-screen talent of Derby City Wrestling. Go ahead and check out Derby City Wrestling if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area every month, or you can check it right on their YouTube and get all the latest, greatest episodes week after it airs. Of course, Dane Becker is not the only individual who works in the professional wrestling industry. This man here is the 2022 Red Rocks Day 1 Trivia Champion. He's a trivia god, but he's also a writer. He's also a booker, and he's also an announcer himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe, what's going on in the world of professional wrestling in Colorado?
Coming up, let's see, this is airing, heading into the weekend of the 24th, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Nothing going on the 24th or the 25th. Sunday, July 2nd, Primos Premier Pro Wrestling presents Valdez versus Bishop. Lonnie Valdez, 3-time Primos champion, making his return after about 5 years or so to take on the enforcer Marlon Bishop. We've got all kinds of shows coming up for Primos, and we've got the second. We've got July 14th featuring Arrow Boy, and that will be on fight.tv, and yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there it is, the man himself, the man who returned to the podcast this week, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Vernola. He's back, and he's better somehow than ever. At least he doesn't have any pain anymore, probably, because he had to do a neck surgery or something.
No pain in my neck.
There you go. That's even better. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back to you next week for episode number 181, SMB 181, and it's the Peruivian Flute, I almost said it, part 2, the epidemic that takes over the world. What will happen when the boys get to Peru, and is Craig really the key? Come on, I don't want to be the key. I really have to be the key? Yes, Craig, is he the key? We'll find out next week on another edition of SMB. Shout out to you, Becker. We'll see you next time.
Feel better, Dane.
Feel better, Dane.
Wow.